Hello, my name is Walker, and I did my final gallery project on the art of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. I picked three objects, the first of those objects being the statue base with enemy heads. The period and dynasty of this object is the Old Kingdom and the Third Dynasty. The numerical date of origin is 2649 to 2575 BC. That is consistent with just that object. The other two objects have a different date. The location is unknown. The dimensions of this object, it has a height of 19.5 centimeters, a width of 35 centimeters, and a depth of 23 centimeters. I chose this object for display because it depicts Egyptian enemies and it gives a glimpse into how the Egyptians viewed their enemies and what type of enemies they fought in battle. And it is on page 174. Second object is the Ak seated with hands clasped, also in the Old Kingdom of the Third Dynasty. The date of origin is 2630 to 2611 BC. That is also the same date as the third object. The dimensions of this object are 62.5 centimeters in height, width of 20.5 centimeters, and a depth of 32.5 centimeters. I chose this object for display because of its uniqueness and how the Egyptian figure has its hands clasped together, and it has a lot of immense detail. And it is on page number 185. Third object is the relief of Hasiri, also Old Kingdom, Third Dynasty of the Old Kingdom. Same, around the same date of origin, 2630 to 2611 BC. Also unknown, exact location where it was made unknown. The dimensions are the height of 86 and a width of 41 centimeters. I chose this object for display because because of its importance to Egyptian history. This piece dated back to the De jure rule of Egypt and displays magic and spiritual beliefs of the time. And it is found on page number 188. A bit of a glimpse into this time period in Egypt. The Old Kingdom in Egypt took place from 2649 to 2130 BC. This period in Egypt contained four dynasties, starting with the Third Dynasty and ending with the Sixth. Important locations in the Old Kingdom included Saqqara, Giza, and Abusir, which all held various pyramids and tombs. Egyptian geography is shaped by two things, the desert and the Nile. All populations are centered around the Nile and which provides a water source and also an ability to grow crops and other agricultural goods. The desert was not nearly as populated. More structures were built out in the desert, like tombs and pyramids. The Old Kingdom lasted around 500 years, and there were many important figures who lived during this time. The first king, Nakharet, who lived from 2649 to 2630 BC, he began Dynasty 3. His reign is credited with having Egypt's first stone structure and first pyramid. The next major ruler was Khufu, who ruled from 2551 to 2528 BC, who was the son of Snefru, who ruled from 2575 BC to 2551 BC. He reigned during Dynasty 4 and standardized pyramid design throughout Egypt. The last king of the Old Dynasty was Pepe II, who ruled for over 90 years. His extremely long reign was cited as a major reason why this period in Egyptian history ended. I guess not a lot of change took place, and just the general consensus of needing change by a ruler who wasn't doing a lot of change. Civil and economic unrest is also credited for leading to this period's end in Egyptian history. Ancient Egypt was polytheistic, which means they worshipped a great number of gods. having this many amount of gods who are worshipped means that a lot of gods went in and out of popularity, and various gods were worshipped throughout this time period. Um, this is evident in when the solar cult was prevalent, and this was during the Fifth Dynasty, and the Fifth Dynasty lasted from 2465 to 2323 BC. During this time, the sun god was worshipped, and many temples were built in his name. Many different types of architecture was also constructed, and this is often is most famously in the pyramids that were built for the Egyptian rulers, like the pharaohs. The art style was heavily influenced by the afterlife in Egypt. This is evident with the amount of art that was put in the tombs of these rulers, and these tombs were decorated to help guide and protect the rulers as they ventured on to the afterlife. Mm. Some of the specific art style, the details of the art style that were prevalent was people with narrow shoulders, large eyes, and upturned lips. That was a very common style of art. Now I will move on to my gallery display. I have my gallery displayed in a circular display, and I have a middle section with tablets displaying information about background information and context about this period in Egypt. Um, as soon as you walk in, there is a door, and right as you open the door, there's the introductory statement, and the guests and museum visitors can read that. The museum starts going from left to in a clockwise movement, and the first piece is the first object, and then the second object, and the third object. It goes in a clockwise movement. There are benches facing the tablets in the middle, where guests can sit down and read the information that is on the tablets and gain a bigger insight on Egypt and the stuff in the information that would help understand the art better. The ceilings of this museum layout it's a dome ceiling with a small glass top to let in a good amount of natural sunlight, but not enough natural sunlight that could damage the artifacts. There is an an artificial light underglow underneath the objects, which helps illuminate the detail of the artifacts and helps the viewers and guests have a better viewership of the artifacts they're looking at. These artifacts are held up by glass boxes or pedestals that raise the objects up high enough for the people and guests to look at it. The walls of the museum are a black, and the floor is a light gray, which helps give the overall dark aesthetic of the dark aesthetic of the museum, which is balanced by the small amount of natural light and the underglow of the artificial light.